So I wanted to do a video about racism, and it might be encouraging if you agree with me. If you disagree with me, then you might really disagree with me. But I was born in 1980, and when I was growing up, our generation in my location, there wasn't really that much racism. And somebody would say, "Well, that's because you're white." Well, that would be a racist who said that, because they have no idea what I experienced. And so I definitely had a lot of like multicultural relationships growing up. I never felt like I was surrounded by the same people, like the same skin color. I think the idea of quote unquote race is really stupid because we're the human race, and I believe we all come from the same place. I mean, anybody in the new age who believes in reincarnation should understand that racism is just really stupid because we've probably been reincarnated in every single race and religion and politic, group. I don't get it. I just don't get racism. Um, but here it is. So when I was growing up, we really weren't experiencing that. We had the previous generation saying that was a bad thing, learned all about those very negative experiences in the past in school. I remember seeing The Color Purple and reading To Kill a Mockingbird and what else? The Holocaust movie, Schindler's List. Um, and I mean, we were exposed to all these things, and everybody just thought, well, that was just stupid. Why did they do that? It just, generation couldn't understand it. Nobody was racist in that way. I just didn't experience it until, well, and I won't call this racism so much maybe, but my first experience was when I went to Chicago when I was in a youth group in high school. And we were, in the inner city of Chicago cleaning things up and going around the city and praying and things like that. So I was in Chicago and we were interacting with some children whose parents had been in jail. So some who had parents in jail. And one of the black kids had asked me, why are you so white? And I was like, wow, I was never experienced that before. And I just said, oh, that's the way God made me. But it was the first sort of experience I had, even considering race. And it's why it struck me so weird. I felt weird, but I had a way to talk about it. Just God made us these different colors for a reason, for us to experience life in this way, and that's fine. So that passed by. I mean, you didn't really ask anything else about that. And then when I was in college, I had an experience where my friend from Guyana had told me about this other woman who was black and had tried to get her to join my friend, tried to get my friend to join them in their religion that was something similar to the Black Hebrew Israelites, which it may have been Black Hebrew Israelites, but I didn't know the name at that time. And so that was when she told me that they were saying that all the white people were going to basically be slaves for the black people in the future. And some of the reasoning, she told me that they said that God hates Esau. Esau means red, and red. She said that white people turn red when you hit them, and black people apparently do not turn red when you hit them. And so this group believed that white people were from the tribe of Esau that God hated. I have completely different perspectives of Christianity, and so did my friend. And she said, no, no, God loves us all, and he does. And so that was another experience I had. And when I was older in 2015 or so, I was doing Christian channel stuff on YouTube, and I ran into the Black Hebrew Israelites who were very racist. They do believe that white people are evil or something, or they are going to be slaves to the black people in the future. And so I'm very aware of that, but I really hadn't experienced that stuff until, well, the college thing was in around 2002, 2003, and the Black Hebrew Israelites weren't until 2015. Not that they weren't around, and perhaps it was the same group. Um, and I'm just thinking now, the college thing was in Pittsburgh, and that was like more of a city versus more rural area where I originally came from. So that could be why I didn't experience it more where I originally came from. And online, obviously, is more like an urban area, even more urban than urban. Um, so, yeah, online you get like a huge clump of people, right, all together. And that's when these thoughts, I guess, start to arise. In my opinion, it has something to do with these people all together. I don't understand why exactly on that point. But my point here about racism that I want to get to is that I really didn't experience it until later, until the 2000s. And I think some of that is, I think some of it was the media that happened around Obama getting in, perhaps. Obviously, he had enough support to get in, but the media started pinpointing, focusing on people. I think it was more like, if you don't agree with Obama, then you're racist. I mean, that's just the go-to today. If you don't agree with what the Democrats say, then you're a racist, as if you can't see that everywhere today. People are just demonizing people as racist left and right nowadays. It's just the go-to insult. My point here, from the law of attraction standpoint, is that I think on a whole, we were really getting over racism in the United States, if not elsewhere. Just from my experience growing up in the 80s and 90s, people who didn't experience the 90s have no idea how great we had it, how this was just not a thing. We judged people by their character and not by the color of their skin. And it was fantastic. And so I want to talk about this racial explosion, of racists that is happening now. And I think that it's similar to a healing crisis. So if you've never heard of a healing crisis, it's basically when you are, let's say you're sick, but you are seemingly okay, and then you decide to get healthier. Perhaps you had some weight. You'd gained some weight over the years, and you decide you want to lose this weight. And when you start to lose this weight and do other things to increase your health, maybe eating healthier foods and cutting out other foods, maybe even fasting, you may end up having, quote unquote sickness, little, maybe not little, but symptoms like a rash or a lot of blowing your nose, a lot of mucus or something. It can come in so many different forms, but it's like a sickness because what's happening is it's like you've got layers and you've sort of stored some negative stuff like toxins in, and they've been kept under wraps, under layers. And when you're healing, you're removing the layers, removing a layer, and you're getting to the toxic stuff, and the toxic stuff is coming out now. And so how a toxin comes out, acne is another one. So you might end up having acne for a while because these toxins are coming out of the skin. By the way, one random tip is dry brushing. You dry brush your skin and toxins can come out a lot easier. If you're not dry brushing your skin, you've got clogged skin pores, and that will stop. So, it keeps things in, which ends up getting the acne or rashes or whatever. So a healing crisis is what happens when you're actually healing. It's like the toxins are getting released in the body and they're trying to come up to the surface and leave. And if you've seen my video about why I like to get triggered, it's kind of like these emotions, these negative, you get triggered and it's like this negative emotion is inside of you just wanting to come up to the surface. And man, it sucks when it comes up to the surface, but then you let it go and then it's just gone. So there's nothing wrong with having a healing crisis, but it can suck. And so a lot of the times they'll say like, don't fast too quickly, don't go overboard when you're fasting. Don't, really push yourself when you're fasting and trying to heal. There's a lot of people who will say, go on this diet, and then if you get a healing crisis, you can pull it back a little bit. I think it should be gradual if you're trying to heal yourself in some way. But yeah, a healing crisis is basically toxins trying to come up and out. And you can think toxic emotions, etc. Same deal. Everything is very similar to itself because we're kind of like in this matrix idea where everything's like a reflection of everything else. So your toxic emotions coming up to the top to get out of your body to heal yourself is in the same vein as toxins coming out as like acne in a healing crisis or mucus, whatever. And some people even do like ayahuasca and will end up throwing up. So it could be about purging stuff, getting rid of the old toxic stuff. So a healing crisis, though annoying, is not really the end of the world. And my point for this video is that I think that people were doing really good, like really healing this stuff, but it's making the toxins come up to the surface to let go of them. And I think that the racist explosion we've seen in the last few years is like a healing crisis coming up to the surface. And I think that it's going to leave our like collective unconscious or subconscious or whatever. I think it's going to leave. I think that that's what's going on, that we have to recognize it as we don't want to judge people by their race. We want to judge people by their character. And there's a big push right now to flip that. They want to judge people by their race. They want to not judge people by character instead. There's a lot of people pushing like hiring people based on their race and not on the merit, like how good they are at their job. And of course, this results in people who get promoted and then they wonder, was I promoted because I was Black? Was I not promoted because I was white? It's worse if you're actually promoted because you never know if you actually deserved it or if you just got it because of your race. I mean, I'd hate to be in a job like that. It would suck. You might think everybody is looking at me and they don't believe I actually, could be here on my own merit and I just got it because I look this way. I mean, that's got to suck. There's a lot of horrible things that are happening because of this racial push these days in the CRT and all that stuff. And I think it's for people to see it for what it is and let it go and say, oh, I don't choose that anymore. I don't want to have anything to do with that. And another thing is that, I've talked about how we are mirroring things. I'll leave a link below to the Essene mirrors by Greg Braden, and there's like 7 different ways to actually mirror what's going on. So when you see something in the world, it can be a reflection of what you are actually doing yourself. So this is like when you're projecting, like if somebody is really calling other people racist, it could be because they're actually the racist. What they say is like, you point a finger and you got like 3 pointing back at you. It's very common for people to say, you're the racist when they're actually the ones who are racist. It's a projection. But that's not the only thing. Greg Braden talks about how you're seeing something mirrored back to you that you judge very harshly. So if you judge people very harshly for judging others by their race rather than their merit or their character, then you may see a lot more racism because that's what you're really judging. And in the Bible, it says, like, if you don't forgive other people, then you won't be forgiven. It's sort of a theme in this world that if you don't grant compassion to other people, you're not going to receive compassion back. So you want to be compassionate in order to see a compassionate world. So there's other ways why there's mirrors. So it's not always that you're experiencing, racism because you're a racist. There's other reasons why it may be there. Dark Night of the Soul is on there, and I kind of am just now wondering if that has anything to do with the healing crisis itself. But yeah, so I'll leave a link below to that if you want to research more on that. But I'm under this theory, hypothesis, that the racism explosion in the last 20 years is because of a healing crisis, because we were doing so good. That's actually reason to be optimistic towards the future, because I really do think most people are not racist in that way. And I think that's why we're getting a lot of pushback by parents who are seeing this stuff in their schools. I want to say even Black people, but there's a lot of Black parents who are very upset by this. And I understand why. I mean, it should be very upsetting. If I had a Black child, I wouldn't want them learning this critical race theory stuff because it's super disempowering. It's completely disempowering to tell people that you are born in a world where you're not going to be able to succeed because of what other people are doing. I actually did an article on BLM and the victim mentality a while back. I guess I can leave a link to that too if you want to read more on that. But yeah, it's super disempowering, this CRT stuff. So I think people are going to see that. I know that a lot of people are seeing that and they are rejecting it, which is great. But I feel like this tension that we're feeling in our country right now because of it could just be like a healing crisis of our like collective unconscious or subconscious, just trying to get rid of this stuff, of this racism. And I hope so. I hope that we're going to see the end of that stuff. I don't understand why people don't just judge based on character and merit. It doesn't make sense to me because I grew up in the 80s, I think. It's just racism doesn't make sense. And I don't think it should make sense to anybody who believes in reincarnation. The idea that we're just all from the same source, the same God, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I have a feeling that most people have that belief too. And they're just not really heard on social media because social media is like a big old echo chamber. Anyway, these were just my thoughts. If you have any other ideas or perspectives, feel free to leave a comment below. And I hope you have a great day. Thanks for watching. If you're on any of the following platforms, consider subscribing to my content there also. My videos are available on Gab TV, Rumble, Odyssey, and YouTube. You can also join my Law of Attraction life coaching groups on Telegram, MeWe, Gab, and Minds. And I've now added a locals group where you can support me to get exclusive content. I'm also on Twitter and Getter. Please like the video if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you want to see more content like this, and consider sharing the video with friends or family. Have a great day.